Among the roles you, Bill, have assumed as a supporter of LGBT rights is the relatively unassuming one of straight ally. Yeah? And you certainly recognize, I think, the importance of that role in the community because you sort of pulled it out in talking to me about what you bring to the table today. Yeah. What has straight ally entailed for you? And how have you seen other people sort of live that out in their lives?
Well, there's a lot that could be said about being a straight ally, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I'd like to start with my own personal experience and talk about what a difference it's made in my life to be a straight ally. Because the heteronormativity piece that impacts on BGLT communities, as far as I'm concerned, also has great impacts on us who are identified as straight men. In our emotional lives and how we express our emotionality and the different kinds of gender roles that we can take even within the confines of our straightness. So the movement for greater gender expression has also had a great impact on me as a straight man. And I think, you know, being a straight white man in our culture impacts in all of those areas. And so learning to be an ally has been a real part of my life journey. Paying attention to and being attentive to what people in particular communities, the BGLT community, the people of color communities, women's communities are saying about the lived experience that they're experiencing and ways that they're marginalized or oppressed, and not defending about that or pushing that aside or saying, oh, that's not important and so forth, but really tuning into that. And I think one of the really important pieces of tuning into that is really acknowledging the power and privilege that I have as a straight white person. And that I have to be able to name what those pieces are and how those things are operating, because I don't really think real change happens until those places are identified where you have institutional power, where you can get the loans, where you can get into the schools, where you can be in the Congress and all these different things. Unless you can make changes at those levels, it's really kind of fudging things. So how do we do that? How do we listen, learn, support? And also my experience is that we have skills and gifts, knowledge and experience from our lifetime or being organizers and so forth that we can bring into the movement in service of the movement. But it always has to be in service to the leadership of the people that we're working with and following their leadership around the issues that I'm not here to define the issues for the queer community. That's not my role. They're going to define that and then asking me for support and help. And how can I do that? And I also, and this is where Anna and I in our partnership have been really important, because I think it's really important for straight people to be in connection with gay people doing this work, because there are things that we bring to the conversation, there are experiences that we have, and somebody needs to name the oppression that's taking place. From our perspective, hey, look at see how this is operating. We need to be able to do that. We can't be wearing out people from the queer community going around and trying to undo all of this stuff. We got to take some responsibility as straight people to address these issues too. So all of that, I think, is involved in being a straight ally. And then, most importantly, building community with other straight people. This has happened in our religious community. You know, the Unitarian Universalist minister. We've been working on this for 30 years. You know, building a community of people with a strong presence from our BGLT folks, and then straight allies working with them to help support the changes that need to take place in the institution, and they bring those experiences out into their work lives. And then we had a major role as a faith community in providing leadership around the country in the struggle for marriage equality. And a lot of that came from 20 years of conversations within those churches and those communities, getting educated, getting a deeper understanding of what the issues are, what needs to be done to and then being able from that to go out into the community to make for change. So.
Sure.
Yeah. When Bill and I we do have a great partnership. We can do a sort of good cop, bad cop thing sometimes, and I also want to add that, you know, in the interest of, you know, how we were talking about coalition building and how this work is not just work to support LGBTQ communities, it's actually connected to all justice work and anti-oppression work. So watching Bill be a straight ally helps me be a better ally to people of color or you know, disabled folks, or you know, because I have a lot of privilege too.
Sure.
So it's a profound and it's a profound thing to unpack.
Right,
definitely.
Right. Good. One of the other things you noted, Anna, was the distinction between tolerance and welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, regardless of who we are, we've likely experienced that in our lives. The distinction between them. Certainly, it plays out a little bit differently in the queer community. See, I've made that leap now. I'm okay with it, Bill. It's just so much easier.
I got you. I know. I'm hear you.
Okay, fellas.
You know, the difference between I like you, you're okay, to what is it that we can do to make this better? Yeah,
right.
How can we work together to do this work? Can you offer some detail to that in terms of how that plays out in the queer community?
Well, I think you know, of course, I can't speak for everybody, but one of the things that here in town that I think we're working with and that is evolving is a lot of times when folks move to the suburbs, they kind of just want to fit in because they want their kids to go to school. This is new, being able to be married and actually both be the legal parents.
Yeah.
So, whoa, you know, that was enough. I'd like to move to the suburbs and you know, have everything, you know, have a nice house and have my kids go to a great school. But then what happens? Regardless of love and intent of both sort of maybe neighbors and teachers and whatnot and the family itself, we can't fight that deeply ingrained homophobia and heteronormativity that just is without some community and without really well-informed straight allies, and without our institutions, our schools, our Boys and Girls Club, our, you know, Arlington Youth Counseling Center, the school board, really being smart and understanding and asking questions and saying, like, how can we be here for you? So I was recently at a conference, Creating Change, which is for our organizers, LGBTQ organizers, and I went to this workshop about intersex people. And that was not a population about which I was very knowledgeable, and I heard these unbelievable stories and these people being very generous with their pain and their experience. And I thought, oh, let's go back to Arlington and bring that up as well. And I feel that can, with this Rainbow Commission, with the kinds of things that people are beginning to be receptive to. I think, going back to your original question, I think when I started organizing in Arlington, for example, at Brackett to do a potluck for LGBTQ parents, it was like, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, go ahead and do that. That's fine. We're fine with that. And you know, slowly through the years, culminating in just the really wonderful scene of the town manager and a couple of other town employees coming to the homeschool QSA to be schooled about terminology, which, as I have mentioned, the younger kids know way more about than I do. You know, sitting and listening and being present while the young people said, this is my life, this is my reality. So it's gone from, it was a powerful moment. I was a little bit felt. So it's gone from, oh, that's fine, go ahead and do that, we're fine with that, to actually, wow, I need to ask you a question because I heard this term that I don't understand, and I really want to be there for you. So I think we are moving in that direction. We can't rest on our laurels. We can't be complacent. This is why some more, you know, the Rainbow Commission just will help sort of sustain this movement forward.
Provide a container.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And shepherd.
So, and one of the things that we've just been so proud of with Queer Mystic is that we have been able to form coalitions and work with other organizations in Arlington. And one of the things that I think maybe a little bit different from maybe working in an urban setting or a rural setting is that in the suburbs here, we really love our youth. We really care about our youth. We've got so many different organizations for them. So one of the things that we've been able to do with Queer Mystic is, for example, reach out to the folks doing the parent forums.
Yeah.
And for 2 years in a row, and we're getting ready to do a third one, we've been able to have, this is going off your question, like who is this benefiting?
Sure.
It's benefiting all of us. We've been able to have these parent forums run by PFLAG, which is Parents and Friends of LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And really just talking about how do you support your queer youth? What do you do as a family? Where do you go for support? And it's not just parents who come to that either. The first, last year, the first one we had, there were over 100 people, and I know people came from all different organizations. So,
Great.
yeah.
Inviting others into the conversation.
Yes,
and places
yes.
that they can do work. We've also had some real contact with the Youth Counseling Center here in the town, talking with them about
Sure.
working with youth from that community, and we've been to a couple of training programs that they've run for their counselors around working with youth with some of these different identities,
Sure.
Yeah.
improving their skills and abilities to connect. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so there's some wonderful interconnections that are happening.
Good.
And we should say our library too, huh?
That's
I
right.
mean,
Yep, Robbins Library has been so for several years. I've been the adult advisor for what we believe is the very first homeschooling Queer Straight Alliance.
Right.
And that has been at the library. We meet upstairs on the fourth floor, And one of the things that one of the groups of kids, because it's been a while, so we've had various iterations, but one of the iterations began a drop-in night. This was even way before Queer Mystic. It was like a drop-in afternoon, and they were running it for LGBTQ folks and allies, and they were running it, but then those kids moved on, went to college or whatever, but the library took it up and continues to run it now. Another thing that happened in the library was that one of the very first things that the QSA did was say, hey, how come those bathrooms are gendered? And it was wonderful because the library said, we've been thinking about that too, and can you help us figure out the best kind of sign? And then the QSA went on to talk to Whole Foods, who fixed their bathrooms, and Kickstand, who fixed their bathrooms so that they're not gendered. So that single stall bathrooms, there's no reason for them to be gendered. So just it's restroom,
There you go.
So we're very glad that we have these other partners in the work and the initiative and leadership that they're taking. But we also know that we bring ourselves into the space and have conversations with them that may lift their consciousness in some new ways and push them into some new ways of being. So
Exactly that.
that's what good partnerships are about, and we're excited by that process.
Good.